Hello, my name is Jared Wilson. Welcome to my EDL 959 Module 1 video. This is the effects of leadership and how they impact academic skills as well as non-academic skills for activities and barriers for Fort Hays State University. A little bit more about me. I've got two stepdaughters. I have a yellow lab who is 9 years old. I enjoy fishing, camping, and sports. I enjoy side-by-side, snowmobiling. I am an operator with Wilson Excavation, so I get to run different various equipment, things like that, especially during the summertime when I'm off from school. Every once in a while I sneak in during spring break and things like that as well. One way to define me, I'd say, is stubbornness. Sometimes it's a positive, sometimes it's a negative. A couple of my hobbies are firearm collection, hunting, and fishing. I think antiques are kind of neat. You learn a lot about that. I kind of got that from my grandfather. He was my best friend, and he collected a lot of those things, and he taught me a lot of skills with hunting and with fishing, and it's just something that I enjoy. It gets me out in nature and allows me to really be myself. Just kind of highlight some of those photos. Obviously, the side-by-side is a town near my cabin. I get to go and explore. I've got my dog Pete, my girls, and then my girlfriend Jacqueline. And then on the right is my girls and us at a Rockies game. Again, something that during the summertime we really, really like to partake in and enjoy immensely. Looking at my educational background, I graduated from Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. It was about 4.5 hours from where I originally grew up. Beautiful mountain town. It's a picture right there in the middle. After that, I went to Fremont Elementary, where I taught 4 years, and then 2 years at Swallows Charter Academy, where I am still currently teaching. It's a public charter school, so there's 3 track and 24 students per class. And kind of why I'm using this class, why I'm bringing this class or these classes, I should say, this major, is that I one day hope to be a college professor where I can be an instructional coach and I can really make an asset to every school and make a difference no matter where I am. I'm kind of transitioning into how these impact academic and non-academic activities and barriers and how leadership really plays a role in that. So to start summarizing some of the readings for this assignment, the first one really implemented or highlighted the implementation of technology and how only introducing technology isn't enough. There has to be some type of support, and I've seen that on one-on-one initiative schools where just bringing in the technology is good. It gives access, but it does not provide the teacher enough support to adequately use that technology to really better all students. It's important that with that technology is aligned with lesson plans and that the equity of technology resources. So some schools are getting them, some aren't. Usually you have your rule and Title I schools affected. And I've also found here in Colorado that there's kind of a middle ground with that, where it seems like some of our title schools are very, very funded with technology, and some of our very high-performing elite schools, if you will, are very technology funded, but kind of our middle ground level schools tend to miss out where they're not struggling enough and they're not performing enough, that they kind of miss out on some of those benefits and some of those financial backings that some of those other schools do see. Another reading really focused on non-academic skills and the impact of student learning, and how not only looking at academic skills will provide sustainable resources, or I should say results, meaning that if you're just looking at academics, you're not going to sustain what the growth, what the achievement you need to do so. Non-academic skills such as self-regulation, problem solving, social awareness, and growth mindset, these are these skills that really are the background or the cement that holds together academic skills and allows students to apply those academic skills. And frankly, teachers lack the appropriate training level to do so, to assess, to demonstrate, to show those soft skills and teach those soft skills to students. And those non-academic skills are what supports the academic learning and opportunities. Next one focused on digital equity. The first one is the SAMR model, which I used here in Colorado. It is a substitution, augmentation, modification, rendition. And it kind of breaks down how technology is used. One major component for this resource was that it should be student-centered instead of teacher-centered, that many times technology is introduced to the class, how the teacher sees it, how the teacher can use it, but not necessarily how the students can see it and how the students can use their creativity, and that it should rely heavily on student-centered activities, which when we think about our lesson plans, a lot of what we should be doing when we meet that mastery level, it really should be student-centered rather than teacher-centered. It discusses social differences and perspectives towards technology literacy, equitable teaching practices that will allow opportunities for equitable tech learning and not vice versa. You don't get equitable tech to everyone without the social difference in those perspectives taking into account. You need to have those equitable teaching practices and those perspectives in play, and then that technology piece will come. It also talked about family engagement and diverse opportunities to teach or for tech engagement as well. Moving on, personalized learning really highlighted the one-to-one initiatives and how there's just not enough to have tech. It must be revolutionary. We shouldn't just be saying, here kiddos, here's how you use a new MacBook. They understand how to use a MacBook. They can do it. We have to teach them how to be better, how to be creative, how to demonstrate a better understanding of how to use that tool. And through teacher development, this can kind of be accomplished. It talks about personalized instruction should allow for aligning instruction to the standards, customized opportunities for creativity, various pacing, data collection, and it should allow for student and parent access. And technology can be used to support teachers in personalizing those opportunities. There should be a strong connection to the curriculum. So a curriculum should have a measurable plan and structure that delivers quality instruction and education opportunities. It requires time and collaboration, and the curriculum should really be the big picture for teachers and should allow students to stay focused and on track. Naming non-academic skills, so it's kind of this debate over the conflict of proper terminology. One example is the 4 C's, which is critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity. Other terms you might see is character, grit, growth mindset, non-cognitive, social, and emotional skills. You hear a lot about soft skills, non-academic skills, or just some of the different terminology that are kind of thrown around throughout this through this assignment. So the standardized testing resource really kind of broke down some data, and it identifies from NWEA, which is what I also test my students with, that 8 out of 10 Americans believe that there should be a push for developing soft skills and assessing soft skills. Only 4 in 10 Americans believe that those standardized tests are efficient in assessing those soft skills. And 1 in 10 teachers believe that school assessments are ineffective in gauging those soft skills. Soft skills should be included in an assessment and the feedback data collection piece. Effective and unique strategies. This kind of highlighted the NWEA data and findings, and that schools show an emphasis on soft skills being developed at home. So a lot of the data supported saying teachers felt like there was so much on their plate that it was difficult for them to do that, and that soft skills should be developed at home. Significance in non-academic skill instruction, that there should be more student ownership, and that shared partnership in introducing and developing soft skills for students. The data highlighted that there's a need for soft skills and soft skill development. But where we fit that in is kind of the struggle. And I think part of that is our standards don't really highlight those soft skills. And so when teachers are held to teaching those standards, it makes it difficult to meet the needs of everything when you're trying to fit everything into a small amount of time. Looking at academic activities, we have science club, coding, art club, reading buddies, math club, spelling bees, history camp, team tutoring. We have after school study groups, and we have help hour. How does our administrator support these? They fight for financial backing, for student support, and for additional resources. I personally think these activities have potential, but they sometimes lack follow through. There's not always a teacher to do it. There's not always a parent that's willing to spend that time with those kids after they've gone through their day. I think that they can be potentially great, but sometimes they fall short. If I was administrator, I would be more focused on assigning leaders to each group. That way it has more direction, more transparency with parents, what the group's going to be doing, what they're going to be working on, so that there's kind of almost a curriculum, if you will. You have someone in charge that's kind of directing what's happening so that everyone stays on the same page and the right page. How do the other stakeholders feel about these activities? I think they want them to succeed, and parents want the students there, and that there are potential parent support. We just have to tap into those and use those resources actively. How do they increase equitable access to high quality digital resources and technology rich learning environments? I don't think all of them do. They really don't. Some do for sure. For example, our history camp uses a lot of technology. Our coding, our science, our math, a lot of those use that. But sometimes our help hour just does not quite incorporate the technology piece like it could. Looking at non-academic, we've got student council, young leadership, split divorce groups, peer counseling, chess club, basketball, track, ROTC, after-school sports, and game nights. So how do they support these? Really, a lot of these come from, we kind of, being a public charter, we have a different leadership team, I guess, if you will, where our counselor is almost like an AP. We almost have about 6 different principals within our building, even though we're relatively small, but they all kind of have a principal or an assistant principal role in one way or the other. And the counselor kind of oversees these activities. For example, the peer counseling, the young leadership, she oversees these and then she delegates those jobs out. I think they're beneficial for diverse learners. I think that a lot of students that might struggle just in class really excel here or would benefit from some of the skills taught here. For example, the split divorce groups. We offer that for kiddos who parents may be just getting divorced, had a divorce. We invite them to this group to kind of share our feelings, share what's going on, and really help those kiddos through that time to learn how to process those feelings appropriately, according to the different curriculums that our counselor is using for those groups. If I were different, or if I were the administrator, I'd provide more opportunities. I'd really do more data collection on my students, on my staff, and see what can we offer students that's different, out of the realm of the usual. How can we be different? How can we support our kids that we may be missing? And how can I collect the data to do so? Things I've seen my principal do, I have seen him verbally support these activities, but I haven't seen him sponsor or participate. I see him in the after-school studying groups. I've seen that, but some of these other groups I haven't seen him really partake in. He'll support them on the announcements. I've heard him support them, but I haven't seen him quite do that. That could be for various reasons, but I think something that could have a strong impact. How does it reach diverse learners? It reaches diverse learners and students with different home lives and cultures. It kind of supports different things. It allows people, if they value sports much more than the others, if they're looking for leadership, if they're looking for that group, that one-on-one small group instruction, things like that is a lot easier to help these students with. So creating an atmosphere that meets the needs for all students that will allow them to be successful at school regardless of home situation and difficulties. I think that this is a way that we are trying to attack these barriers and how we can help best support all of our students. So right now, activities I believe that could be developed, our after-school study group, our help hour, our non-academic could be our after-school sports and our ROTC program. Just from talking with my students and what I see a lot of interest in and where we kind of fall short. Some things I think could be introduced is really our writing club, our young authors club, and a finance club, teaching more life skills, more things that they're going to use outside of school so that they're better prepared. And then the non-academic might be some of more of that leadership and the team building. I know growing up we had different types of clubs that were like problem solving. Only you were in groups and you had to, solve through that. And then lifestyle organization. So how should these students operate on a day-to-day basis? Moving on to the relevancy, one of my biggest takeaways from this assignment was the research, the terminology, and descriptions. I find myself during conferences trying to communicate with parents about the skills and positive change I have observed, but cannot be seen on a report card. I tend to focus more on with parents on student growth and happiness and want to be better than they were yesterday. We're a one-to-one initiative, but struggle to use technology to its fullest potential, and our school mimicked a lot of what resources suggested lacks direction and focus. I plan to use technology in my lesson plans, but I'm still struggling to find ways that technology to improve learning and not just be a part of learning. And then just before I run out of time, I also want to highlight my reflection